So yeah, we'll run the ABOR. We'll discuss kind of why it appears that we've peaked to trough. It appears like we've this is the double bottom, so we should be bottomed out. So it does look like everything's about to return, and then we can go into the Fed.
Yeah.
Or should we hold that till the money segment? Because I think the Fed.
Let's talk about that. Let's tease it towards the end.
Okay.
And then say, hey, we'll talk more about this.
Okay, because that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because the prediction, all the predictors are, all the numbers are finally speaking.
I'll tease throughout things. And say we'll talk next segment about the interest rates because everybody wants to know, but that's gonna be a big deal.
Okay.
All right.
Hello, Austin, Texas. You're listening to the Home Team with Troy and Wyatt, where we bring sports and money together for your education and entertainment. If you have any questions about anything we say today, please reach out to me at loansfromtroy.com or give me a call at 855-299-HOME. And as always, this segment is brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we turn houses into homes by financing
your
American dream.
Yeah, you know what? It's actually been kind of nice in Austin. I mean, the weather's getting a little bit colder, and it's not hot, and mosquitoes came back for a little bit once it got warm. It rained, and then we were like,
then they were gone.
It's like, that's why I like the drought, right? But they were gone again. So, but everybody's excited about being outside, but they're still a little leery about this real estate market. So, we'll run over the numbers here. So the median sales price is $435,000 in October of 2023. Yeah.
That's down 7% year over year. So that again, that kind of freaks everybody out, but it is the typical year as far as numbers coming down, volume, things like that. That's very typical that it happens. But year over year, you like to see a little bit of an increase, but this is median. And right now, with the interest rates where they are, you got to think everybody in October was people that locked their loans in September, right? So, with where interest rates were in September, there just wasn't a lot of new buyers out there.
No.
We've talked about the have-to-be's. They're always out there. As far as the have-to-be, I mean, closed units, right, was up 4%. So this is, they talk about peak to trough as far as the distance of the highs and the lows. So we hit that first trough, and then they call the second bottom. So sometimes things hit the bottom, they come back up, and then they bottom again because people aren't really sure if the market has found the bottom.
Right.
And then, so that second bottom, when it starts to recover from the second bottom, which is what it's doing now, those are all the indicators that we are climbing our way back out of this mess.
Right.
Which is good because as far as the economy affecting real estate right now, rates and things like that have held the real estate market in check, right? And so what I put out something on, I don't know, Facebook
or Instagram. I saw that. It's spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, this explains where we're at.
Yeah.
1,000%.
One of them was a real famous podcast. I don't really want to say his name or anything, but basically what he said was, hey, if you are looking at it, he's from the East Coast, so his numbers are way different than ours. He said, he goes, if you're not buying a $900,000 house today because the interest rates, he goes, well, when the Fed lowers the rates to 5%, he goes, that $900,000 house is going to be $1.4 million.
Well, I'm not buying a $900,000 house right now because I can't afford it.
Yeah, but the math, as far as the math is equivalent. So if you're not buying that $500,000 house, that's going to be a $650,000, $700,000 house when the rates come back down. And what he said, and we've been saying this, but it's nice to say, people that have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of close to 1 million followers on their programs. And he said,
you're talking about us, right? Are you talking about us?
We're on our way.
Okay.
Not there.
Okay.
But what he said was, he said that, if the house didn't lose value when rates are at 8+%, what makes you think it's going to stay when the rates are at 6%?
Absolutely.
What makes you think the value is going to stay when the rates hit 6%?
It's a tough call, right?
Yes.
I mean, the value of the dollar is still down, right? Mm-hmm. It's gaining a little bit. Things are kind of catching up, but it's hard for people to make that decision, right?
Yeah.
Because $200 more a month is a lot harder than it was 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Right? But
So-
there is a payoff.
Yeah, and so this part I want to save for the next segment, the money segment. But because I just had this conversation with our previous co-host, Colt Man 11,
Yeah.
about emotional attachment to money, right? And so the $200 can always be found, but you have to have an emotional decision to be logical or emotional about your money, right? And so you can find the $200. Everybody can find it, because you could think how many people are 300. I talked to somebody, he's got like $300 for 3 cell phones, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I have 3 cell phones and I'm 175. So what's the difference? It's what I'm saying?
Right.
Is that the carrier worth another 125? There's $125 right there.
Right.
Those are the things that people need to understand, and you have to decide what is more important. Is it more important to own a home, or is it more important to have a streaming service?
Right.
And that's the emotional part. We'll get into that in the next segment, that people need to understand.
Well, also people don't want to be wise with their money, and this is actually, yes, it doesn't seem like a wise decision, but again, like you said, it took 20 years for it to pop from 7.5 whatever percent in interest, right? And that was one of the posts you put.
Yeah.
So do you want to wait 20 years? Because it's not going to happen unless we have a major catastrophe again. We don't want the banks to fail. We don't want, if all that happened, yes, we could dip down lower, but generally, I think they have it fixed, and that's why we're going through this recession. And once it comes back and we even out, a high 6 is going to be great. A medium 6 will be good.
Yeah,
but 7 is going to be a great interest rate still.
I mean, and that's the thing too, because back in the early '80s, when inflation kind of got out of control, mortgage rates were 7.5, right? And somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to wait till rates go down." Well, if they did, that was 22 years, and the value of a home quadrupled. So if you'd have bought a house in the early 80s and sold it 22 years later, when the value had quadrupled, you would have had your retirement fund set.
Yeah.
And so I get asked a lot of times, because they're just like exercise programs and diet programs. There are hundreds of them out there, right? The question is the one you're working, does it work for you, right? So I have a coaching program, and my coaching program is a little bit more militaristic. He will yell at you, and he holds you accountable and things like that, and that works for me, right? I spent 6 years in the military. I'm very comfortable with that, but that doesn't work. I talk to some people and they're like, "Oh my God, they yelled at me," so it doesn't work for everybody, So you have to. It's like diet programs. They all work.
Right.
It's just can you stick to it through the long haul for it to work for you?
And not 2 months, not 3 months for your life.
Yeah. And everything, all of those things, they work. Now, snake oil, as far as pills and blah blah blah. I'm not talking about that, but programs, they all kind of work. But the problem is
Ozempic. Is that the new side?
That actually, from my understanding, works, but there's a little bit of danger to it.
There might be some side effects.
Yeah, there might be some side effects, but so those are the kind of things that they all work. It's just that you need to do it. And it's just like with the home. People say, well, what are you talking about? These people that homes, you shouldn't buy one now, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, here's a question: what else can you do where you do nothing except live your life and create equity?
Right.
What else can you do? Right? If you can,
you got to spend that money no matter what.
You're spending rent, or you're spending a mortgage payment. Okay. So what else can you? So you're spending that money, right? So you buy a home, you pay your rent on your home. Let's just your mortgage payments, right? And you do this for 20 years. You have now created an opportunity to sell your home, invest it, and retire. What else can you do that with? No, because you have to cut expenses. You have to increase income to invest. Right? So everybody's like, well, put your money in investments. I'm like, no, because your home, this is for the masses. 70% of America has less than $1,000 saved. 70%. So I'm not speaking to that 5 or 10% that has money and is retirement accounts and all. I'm not speaking to that group when I talk right now. When I'm telling people, the real estate is the way to go, I'm speaking to that 70% who's making bills, who's making their monthly payments, and that's all they're able to do.
And the thing is buy a house, and like you've always said, move in 2 years, make it a rental, and then you're actually making generational wealth.
Yeah.
And you can do in the same neighborhood, find another one, do it again. and increase. Don't obviously if you wait for 2 years, you're going to miss out on the house you want.
Yep.
But it might not be your forever home, right? You might have to get less home, but then you're still building equity, and then in 2 years you're able to make that into a rental home. So I mean, you out there who's listening that think you missed the boat, this is the opportunity to do it. This is when you go get that house. That all of a sudden, when the interest rates go down, you're going to have equity in your home that just blasts up out of nowhere. Just by going ahead and pulling the trigger and doing that. So
Yeah, and like I said,
that's how the rich people are doing it.
Yeah,
they're the ones out there buying a house right now because they know the secret.
We are doing more DSCRs, which is debt service loans, which are basically people are
That's a big one now,
qualifying on rental income of the property. We're doing more of those loans than we're doing primary residence. So that means there are more investors buying homes in the greater Austin area than people are buying to live in them.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. So rent's not there yet. Rent is not caught up to
but they know it's going to.
Right, to the price of homes in the Austin area. Rents are low in Austin, but that's every time it's renewed, they're jumping, and it's not going up 6%.
Usually a year lease, right?
Yeah, and they're jumping 10. Like I just talked to somebody, he said his rent went up $250, and he went to look around and he couldn't find another place cheaper.
Yeah.
So rent's it's going to catch up, and it has to because of taxes and everything else. Rent, insurance and taxes are much higher, so rent is catching up.
Right.
And thinking that you can save money by renting, you probably need to read some more books.
And we'll talk a little bit about that as far as plus the interest rates, on a national level coming down, and explain what that looks like for us, right? Because people are interested. The other one is they need to be taking care of that, taking advantage of that buy down opportunity. So we'll talk to that again because if people listen for the first time. Our old listeners know this, but we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Yeah,
because right now the question everybody wants to know is, have we hit the summit as far as mortgage rates?
Right.
Are they going to raise the rates over the next period of time? What is it going to be more expensive? Inflation. Those are the things that everybody is feeling
That's
like
what they're waiting for.
Yeah, they need these answers before they make decisions, right?
I don't blame them.
And so finally, we have numbers out that really paint a picture of what the not so distant future.
But we're not going to talk about it right now. We're going to talk about it next segment.
Yes, absolutely. So, sometime around the end of the first quarter, maybe second quarter, there's going to be some things changing. And you've been listening to the Home Team with Troy and Wyatt. We hope you've enjoyed what you heard so far. If you have any questions about anything we've just said, which you should, reach out to me at loansfromtroy.com, or you can give me a call at 855-299-HOME. And as always, this segment is brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we turn houses into homes by financing
your
American Dream. See you in just a minute.